So what if the secret to a highly successful business partnership is actually planning your breakup on day one?
I mean, that sounds completely counterintuitive, right?
Well, it does. Because usually when we talk about joining forces in business, there is this, I don't know, this highly romanticized image that pops into our heads.
Oh, absolutely. The classic startup myth.
Exactly. Two brilliant minds in a garage, finishing each other's sentences, splitting the equity and the workload perfectly down the middle.
And eventually riding off into the corporate sunset together.
Right. We treat it like a marriage that is supposed to last forever. But then you step into the actual, unfiltered reality of running a business with another human being.
And it rarely looks like the movie.
No, it doesn't. Suddenly, that perfect symmetry goes out the window. We are looking at a collaborative landscape that is brutal, it is messy, and, well, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because today, we are taking a deep dive into a profoundly fascinating source that completely shatters our modern ideals of teamwork.
It really pulls no punches.
It really doesn't. We are analyzing a lecture and Q&A session delivered in Busan back in January of 2026. And the entire focus of this session is the mindset for partnerships.
Right.
And our mission for this deep dive is to extract these highly unconventional, sometimes jarring rules of collaboration from the text so that you, the listener, can apply them to your own joint ventures. And hopefully do so without ending up hating your co-founders.
What's fascinating here is how the source dismantles our basic assumptions from the very first breath. I mean, it strips away all the romance.
Totally.
The core premise of this lecture states that we only partner up because we lack something. We cannot do it alone.
Which is kind of a hit to the ego, right?
Oh, massive hit to the ego.
Yeah.
But if you had all the money, all the skills, and all the time in the world, you would just execute your vision solo. You wouldn't need anybody.
You just do it.
Exactly. So the foundation of any partnership isn't a shared dream. It is a shared deficit. And acknowledging that you are inherently missing something the other person possesses well, that is the absolute foundational secret to avoiding conflict down the line.
I really appreciate how unapologetically blunt that is. You don't partner with someone who brings nothing to the table.
No, of course not.
You're literally recruiting them to plug a hole in your own capabilities. But that forces a pretty serious question.
Yeah.
If partnerships are born from this mutual lack, how do we actually balance the scales when two fundamentally incomplete people come together? Because, wait, aren't we taught in every business school and startup incubator that a healthy partnership should be a perfectly equal 50-50 split?
Yeah, that is the conventional wisdom. We assume fairness means equality.
Right.
But the source insists unequivocally that there is no such thing as a 50-50 split in a real functional partnership.
None at all.
None. Trying to force one is precisely what creates friction.
I always think of a 50-50 business like a perfectly balanced seesaw on a playground.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, like you have one person on the left, one person on the right, and they weigh exactly the same. It looks incredibly harmonious for a photo op, but nobody is actually moving anywhere.
Right, you're just stuck.
You are just suspended in the air. If you actually want momentum, if you want the seesaw to go up and down, someone has to weigh a little more to push off the ground.
That is a brilliant way to visualize the source's concept of energy mass.
Energy mass.
Yeah, the text argues that every single person brings a different overall mass of energy to the table. And this isn't some mystical aura. It is a highly pragmatic calculation of your advantages.
Okay, so like what?
It is your technical skills combined with your financial capital, your natural talents.
Your network, maybe?
Exactly, your network and your operational bandwidth. All of that combined.
So it is essentially the aggregate weight of your usefulness to the venture.
Precisely. And because human beings are vastly different, those aggregate weights never perfectly align.
Right. Nobody is exactly identical.
Right. So the source argues that because of these different advantages, partnerships always naturally settle into a strict 3-to-7 rule.
3-to-7.
It is never half and half. Let's say you have one distinct advantage. Maybe you wrote the initial code for an app.
Okay, I'm the coder. Got it.
But your partner brings 3 distinct advantages. They have seed funding, they have a massive network of distributors, and they have 10 years of sales experience.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
The dynamic naturally and inevitably shifts to 3-to-7.
But what if I push back on that?
Okay, play devil's advocate.
What if I am the engineer in that scenario and I say, look, without my code, there is no product. I demand 50%. Isn't that just basic self-worth?
Well, the source addresses that exact mindset and issues a very stern warning. Yeah, it says that if you only rely on your own smarts, if you walk in thinking your one advantage makes you the most important person in the room, and you refuse to acknowledge your partner's significantly greater energy mass, the partnership will quickly shatter.
Wow, it just breaks.
The text literally advises you to break up quickly if that is your attitude.
Because it violates that very first premise we talked about.
Exactly.
You are forgetting your own lack. You forgot that your code was just sitting on a hard drive doing absolutely nothing until this person brought their network and funding.
You lost the perspective.
Yeah, you have to maintain that beginner's mindset. Like,
Mm.
I am here because my strength alone is not enough to unfold the world the way I want.
And that requires a massive suppression of ego. You have to accept your place in the 3 to 7 dynamic, whether you are the 3 or the 7.
But this introduces a massive operational problem, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if the scale is always tipped 3 to 7, who actually runs the day-to-day? Who gets to take the wheel and be the face of the company?
This is where the source gets highly specific. And to a modern audience, quite provocative.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the text explicitly brings in natural gifts.
Yes, it does.
It mentions the 5 elements, which is a traditional concept of natural constitution, and it explicitly points to physical attractiveness.
Right.
It lists being good-looking or having favorable natural elements as a legitimate, quantifiable business advantage. And it dictates that the person with these traits should lead. I mean, I had to read that twice. Are we seriously just picking the prettiest person in the room to be the CEO?
It sounds incredibly shallow until we break down the mechanism of human behavior that the source is actually pointing to.
Okay, break it down for me.
The text argues that someone who is naturally good-looking or who possesses these favorable magnetic natural elements is universally popular. People are just drawn to them.
Yeah, halo effect, I guess.
Exactly. In a business context, popularity is utility. It lowers the cost of customer acquisition.
Oh, that makes sense.
It opens doors that might otherwise be completely closed to a brilliant but, say, abrasive engineer.
So it is not about vanity at all. It is about friction. They are like a battering ram coated in velvet.
That is exactly it. They lower the friction of interacting with the market. That magnetism is a massive form of energy mass.
Okay, I see.
And the source has a rigid rule. The person with the highest overall energy mass, which includes these natural advantages alongside their skills or capital, must be the vanguard. They must be the face of the business.
But surely 2 people can co-lead. Like we see co-CEOs sometimes, right?
The source categorically rejects that.
Really?
Yeah, it states, 2 heads make everything fail. One must lead and one must support, period. If both partners try to stand at the very front and steer the ship, the business goes nowhere. It becomes a 2-headed monster, pulling in opposite directions to satisfy 2 competing egos.
Which creates the perfect breeding ground for resentment.
Absolutely.
And the text has this incredibly relatable warning about jealousy here. It paints this picture of the supporting partner, the person who might be doing the heavy lifting in the background, just sitting there and grumbling.
We've all seen it happen.
Yeah, they start whispering to the staff like, oh, they just have a pretty face. They are just the charismatic one who talks to investors. I am the one doing the actual real work.
Right.
And out of jealousy, they start actively trying to block the leader to advance themselves to the front.
And by doing that, they are sabotaging the very asset they partnered with that person to access.
It's so counterproductive.
If you partnered with someone because their magnetism can open doors you can't, why would you then try to lock those doors?
Exactly.
The source argues this internal sabotage dooms the business entirely. You are fighting the natural current of the partnership instead of utilizing it to grow the whole pie.
The source actually grounds this whole theory in some major historical examples, looking at the titans of the Korean business world.
Yes, very prominent figures.
It brings up Chairman Lee Byung-chul, who founded Samsung, and Chairman Kim Woo-chung, who founded Daewoo. And the detail that really stood out to me is that neither of these massive historical figures started alone.
Right.
We tend to think of them as these solitary geniuses, but they had partners in the beginning.
They collaborated, just like anyone else, starting from a place of deficit. However, the source points out that their individual energy mass, like their vision, their natural drive, their absolute magnetism, was so disproportionately massive compared to their early partners.
It was just off the charts.
It was. So they naturally and unavoidably took the lead. The sheer gravity of their capability forced them to the vanguard position.
And the text mentions something specific about Chairman Kim Woo-chun's partners. It says his energy was so overwhelmingly large that the people backing him up, his early partners, basically struggled to keep pace.
Imagine trying to run a marathon while tied to someone sprinting at full speed.
I mean, I'd pass out.
Right. Chairman Kim's vision and drive were the sprint. His partners couldn't match the rhythm of that massive energy.
Yeah.
They lacked the mass to stay in orbit, so to speak. And so eventually they fell away, leaving him to drive the empire forward on his own.
And that phrase, falling away, blows the lid off the most shocking revelation in this entire lecture, I think.
It really is a paradigm shift.
Because we're deeply conditioned to think a successful business partnership is a lifelong commitment. But the source argues that business partnerships actually have a built-in expiration date.
Yes.
They're fundamentally supposed to end.
It is a radical departure from how we view corporate success. We usually view a split as a failure.
Right, like a messy divorce.
But the source views a split as the natural, healthy conclusion of a fulfilled purpose.
You know, it makes total sense if you think about it, like a set of training wheels on a bicycle.
Oh, I like that analogy.
When you are just learning to ride, your balance is shaky, your strength is low, and you have a massive deficit. Those training wheels are absolutely essential.
You need them.
You partner with them so you don't crash, but they are fundamentally designed to be removed. If you keep the training wheels on your bike forever, you can never actually lean into a turn.
No, you can't.
You can never ride at full speed. You have to take them off to truly unlock your own independent momentum.
That analogy perfectly illustrates the timeline the source lays out. The text establishes a basic, non-negotiable cycle for any partnership, which is 3 years.
3 years.
That is the fundamental unit of measurement for collaboration.
3 years. That feels so incredibly short. Why exactly 3 years? What is the mechanism there?
Well, if you look at the developmental cycle of human growth and business building, 3 years is a significant milestone.
Okay.
Year 1 is survival. Year 2 is stabilization. By year 3, you have usually achieved scale or you have failed.
Right. You kind of know what it is by then.
By the 36-month mark, the initial lack that brought you together, the reason you needed that partner in the first place, has usually been resolved. You've gained the skills, the capital, or the network you were missing.
So the mutual deficit is basically gone.
Exactly. And the source dictates that at this 3-year mark, you must pause and objectively evaluate. You have to ask yourself, do I have enough independent energy mass now to separate and run my own venture?
If you don't?
Or do I still lack something?
Right. If you still need the support, you consciously agree to go one more round together, taking the partnership to what the text calls 70% completion.
But the ultimate destination is still separation.
Always. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the source is making a profound argument about human potential.
Yeah.
It argues that staying together forever out of a misplaced sense of loyalty, saying things like, oh, we started together in the garage, we have to finish together, is actually destructive.
It holds you back.
Once the gap is filled, the mechanism of the partnership has served its purpose. Forcing it to continue stifles both individuals' evolution.
And the text is brutal about this. It literally says that if you stay out of pure loyalty, when the energy dynamic has shifted, you will end up holding a grudge and cursing each other.
It becomes toxic. You become parasitic. Okay, so let's say the 3 years are up. You have built your strength, the training wheels have done their job, and it is time to take them off. How you actually execute this breakup is where the source drops its ultimate rule, the 30% rule.
This is perhaps the most strategic, completely counterintuitive piece of advice in the entire lecture.
It completely flips the script on how we view equity.
It really does.
The source states that when the supporting partner, let's say the person who is the 3 in the 3 to 7 dynamic, when they finally decide to leave and start their own independent venture, they absolutely should not be greedy.
No.
They should not try to cash out and take 100% of their share with them. Instead, they must intentionally leave 30% of their share behind with the successful leader they are separating from.
To a lot of people, that sounds like leaving money on the table.
Right. Why would I give up my hard-earned equity?
But mathematically and socially, it is genius. It is not an act of charity. It is highly calculated mutual growth.
Okay, how so?
Think of it conceptually like retaining stock in a company you helped found, but in reverse. By voluntarily leaving 30% of your generated value behind, you are actively empowering your former partner, the leader, whose energy mass is already massive, to keep succeeding without you.
You are giving them a longer runway.
Exactly.
And here is the magic of the mechanism. As they grow, your 30% grows with them.
Precisely. You are investing in their continued ascent. Because you help build their foundation, their subsequent success acts as a rising tide.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You go off and succeed independently with your 70% stake in your new life, and you passively succeed through their ongoing triumphs with your remaining 30%. You have created a decentralized network of success.
I love the visceral imagery the source uses to explain what happens if you don't do this.
Oh yes, the gum.
Yes, it warns against clinging to your partner like a piece of gum. The Korean word used in the lecture is kiamtakji, which perfectly describes that stubborn, sticky gum on the bottom of a shoe that you just can't scrape off.
It is a very evocative, highly unpleasant image.
It really is. If you act like kiamtakji, if you cling to the leader, demanding every last cent of your share, demanding to stay attached and relevant when your utility has fundamentally expired, you literally become a drag coefficient.
You weigh them down.
Yeah, and the brutal truth is, in ruining their future trajectory, you ruin your own. You kill the golden goose simply because you wouldn't let it fly out of the cage.
It requires a tremendous amount of emotional maturity.
It really does.
You have to be willing to look at someone you spent 3 years grinding with and say, look, I'm stepping away to build my own kingdom, but I want you to win so immensely that I am leaving a piece of my own value here to ensure you do.
It transforms a breakup from a messy, lawyer-filled divorce into a powerful, aligned alliance.
It is just a completely different paradigm.
We started this deep dive by talking about how messy and emotionally volatile partnerships can be. But the framework this source provides, this highly objective, math-driven approach to human energy, actually removes so much of the emotional chaos.
Because it replaces ego with objective reality. It asks you to view yourself and your colleagues as shifting masses of energy and utility rather than static characters in a fairy tale.
Yes. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Think about where you are in your own professional life. Whether you are launching a tech startup with your best friend, whether you are collaborating on a huge creative project, or even if you are just working in a tight-knit team environment at a corporate day job.
It applies everywhere.
It does. The underlying mechanics here are universally applicable. You need to objectively evaluate your own energy mass. You need to embrace the reality of the 3 to 7 dynamic instead of fighting exhausting battles for a fake 50-50 equality.
Right.
And perhaps most importantly, you need to recognize that taking the training wheels off, knowing when a collaboration has served its purpose and it is time to separate, is a crucial skill for preserving both your future success and your sanity.
This raises an important question, though, and I think it is a concept worth leaving our listener to chew on.
Okay, let's hear it.
The source dictates leaving 30% of your equity behind like a financial investment when you physically separate from a business partner. But what if we applied this 30% rule to our emotional investments or our intellectual property when moving on from any collaborative project or past job?
Oh, wow. I like where this is going. How would that work mechanically?
Well, imagine you are leaving a company for a better role. The standard instinct is to take all your knowledge, pack up your desk, and sever ties.
Right, take your Rolodex and run.
But could intentionally leaving a piece of your value behind, whether that is a brilliant operational template you designed for the team, a vital client introduction you make for your successor on your way out the door, or simply a deep foundation of goodwill be the ultimate hidden strategy for long-term legacy?
That is fascinating.
You aren't just taking what is yours, you are strategically seeding the ground for others to build upon.
That is such a powerful, actionable thought. Seeding the ground instead of salting the earth as you leave. Because if that team uses your template to crush their quarterly goals, your reputation as the architect of their success only grows.
Exactly.
That is how you build an ecosystem instead of just a single career. Well, on that note, we have unpacked the brutal, beautiful, and highly strategic reality of partnerships today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a great conversation.
It really has. Keep questioning the conventional wisdom, keep objectively evaluating your own energy mass, and we will catch you next time as we continue to explore the fascinating ideas that shape our world. Remember, the next time you look at a perfectly balanced seesaw, ask yourself, is anybody actually moving? Keep learning, keep exploring.